It's power rankings time for Roland Garros 2024, and I cannot wait to get into this one because it is going to be one of the toughest power rankings that I've done for the ATP since the inception of this channel. Honestly, like it's going to be really tough to pick everyone 1 to 10, honestly, because normally you have like Djokovic, or you'd have Nadal, or you'd have maybe Alcaraz, or even Sinner right before the Australian Open, maybe, who are up there, and you're like, okay, right, we've got maybe 2, 3, even 4 players that we know are top 4 in the power rankings because they're the most informed players, and we can juggle them around. Any order can probably work, but fine. And say it's a hard court, you throw a Medvedev, etc. Right? So normally it's not too hard, and honestly, it's pretty straightforward. In the past, it used to be the WTA tour where it used to be really hard to do the power rankings, but for this specific tournament, it's tough, and I'm going to pick 1 to 10 my most informed players, and I'll talk about exactly the criteria I'm going to use. Before we do get into it, though, remember to hit that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. So, this is how I'm going to pick it. There's a few factors. The main factor is going to be recent form, so mainly focused on the clay court swing, of course. So more importance placed on Masters 1000 tournaments, of course, and really Rome and Monte Carlo. And I might even place equal importance on, say, Barcelona and even like the Bavarian International on par with Madrid. And I'll explain why. Madrid is very different to Roland Garros. And, when we're talking about form, yes, okay, it does play a part. But we have to be honest in the sense that Roland Garros as a surface and conditions wise is very different to Madrid. Madrid is high altitude. The ball flies a lot more than it would at Roland Garros. It plays a lot quicker. So it's not, it's not a true reflection, I think, and of how someone's going to do at Roland Garros. I don't think it always translates, let's say, winning Madrid to winning Roland Garros. Whereas winning Rome or even Monte Carlo, even though Monte Carlo's at the start of the season, it tends to be more. I think it tends to be a better indicator. Monte Carlo is a slow clay court surface. The only thing on Monte Carlo is it's right at the start of the clay court swing. So sometimes it's not the best tournament to really get a gauge of like how players are going to look, because sometimes they struggle to adapt from hard court to clay. But Rome, well, Rome's different because Rome, of course, is just before Roland Garros, and the conditions, in my opinion, are the most similar. So that's kind of where we're at, I think. So yeah, I'm going to place more importance on Rome, Monte Carlo, and then we'll look at Madrid, Barcelona, Bavarian International, whatever else, while the other tournaments are playing or have been played. There is a couple of tournaments going on now as well. I'm not going to take that into consideration just because it's the week before Roland Garros. I know Djokovic is playing Geneva, which is massive, so let's see how he does there. But if he were to win a 250, would that give him the confidence to win Roland Garros? Maybe, but I'm not going to factor that in here because it's just tough. Also, the weather's not looking good as well this week in Geneva, so he may not even be able to play at all, which would be a shame, of course, for his preparation. So let's dive into it then, because there's a lot of players to get through, and I'm going to do 1 to 10. So number 1 being the most informed player going into Roland Garros. So these are not my predicted picks of who I think is going to do the best at Roland Garros. It's just who do I think is the most informed player from 1 to 10 going into the Grand Slam. Who is looking in the best shape, form-wise, going into it. I will also factor in vaguely, not really a massive emphasis on previous year's results at Roland Garros, because I just think if we do that, Nadal's going to be at the top, and so I will to some degree factor in, but it's not going to be anywhere near. We're talking like 75%, let's say 70% current form clay court swing this year, 15% previous Roland Garroses and previous clay form, 15% form in 2024. So how do they look generally throughout the year? Because Sinner's on the Australian Open, he's not really good this year. He's only lost 2 matches. Great, so 1 match on clay, 1 match on hardcourt. but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win Roland Garros. It just means that look, he's having a really good year, which is great, right? And it gives him some bonus points. So let's get into it. So my number one is probably going to be a little bit controversial, but just hear me out. I'm going to go with Stefanos Tsitsipas. Now you might be saying, well, Fazan, you literally just said that you placed the most importance on Rome and Monte Carlo, fine, but mainly Rome, right? So why have you picked Tsitsipas, who didn't win it, didn't make the semi-finals, didn't even make the final, he lost the quarterfinal stage? I'll tell you why. This is a big opportunity for Tsitsipas, this Roland Garros, and if we look at his results this year, during the clay court swing, it's been impressive. It's been very, very impressive. First of all, he won his third Monte Carlo Masters title, beating Rune in the final, Jannik Sinner in the semi-finals, Khachanov, Zverev, Echeverry, and Zhe. Really strong route to the title. Really, really strong. Barcelona, he lost in the final. I have to say, it didn't quite look his best. Maybe a bit fatigued, maybe, but picked up, not big wins, it has to be said, over Offner, Carlos Baena, Diaz Acosta, Lajovic. So Lajovic is a solid clay quarter, so is Diaz Acosta, but they're not going to be world beaters. That's just the crux of the matter, right? That's us being honest when it comes down to it. Madrid, so Monte Carlo won, Barcelona final, Barcelona's 250, of course. Madrid, now he lost in the first round to Thiago Monteiro. I don't think it matters. When he lost, honestly, I was saying to friends and even some family, they're like, "Oh, Tsitsipas has lost. What's he doing?" And I just said, "Look, yes, it's not a good loss, right? Of course, it's not. You didn't never want to lose a tennis match, but if he were to lose in the first round of any of the Masters during this swing, you'd want him to lose if you're a Tsitsipas fan in Madrid, because it's at least, as I said, like Roland Garros. So it doesn't really matter. It's the middle of the clay court swing. He can recover in Italy, and he did somewhat. Yes, okay, fine. He only made the quarterfinals, but he still beat Struff, Nori, and Dimona. Good wins. And Nicolas Jarry played some inspired tennis. Of course, he made the final in the end, right? So it's not like he didn't go on to make a really big run, Jarry. He was playing really, really good tennis. So kudos to him. Really well played from Nicolas Jarry. And he's dangerous. He lost it in 3 sets at Tsitsipas. And look, now he has a week off to rest, recuperate, and go again. And I just think form-wise, if we're talking about the level of tennis we've seen from everyone throughout this whole clay court swing, who has hit the highest of highs, I think you'd have to say Tsitsipas. And you could, look, I mean, if someone in the comment section says to me, Fazan, X, Y, and Z, no, I don't think it's him. I think it's someone else. I'm all ears, because I'm more than happy to entertain it. I don't think it's a case of he is cut and dry above everyone. I think, if I look at my list, 1 to 5, pretty interchangeable. And that's what makes this power ranking so difficult to pick, because there's not any real clear number 1, number 2, number 3 picks, in all honesty. Number 2, I've gone for, could be a bit of recency bias, in Alexander Zverev. Now, yeah, won Rome, really good win. The wins weren't amazing. Not his fault. It's just how the draw fell in the end, because, there were some injuries to people going into it. Plus, of course, some seeds fell as well. So he beat Vukic, Darderi, Borges, Fritz. To be fair, Fritz has been playing well. Clayler Fritz, as he likes to call himself at the moment. Tabilo and Jarry. So, yeah, good wins. Madrid, Chorich, Shapovalov, lost to Sarunda in the round of 16. Again, not going to take too much from that, but a couple of wins, I guess. Bavarian International lost in the quarterfinals to Garin. Monte Carlo, he made the round of 16. Beat Offner, lost to Tsitsipas in 7-5, 7-6. Very, very tight. Although the second set, I'm pretty sure Tsitsipas was up like, I'm pretty sure he was up 5-2 or something similar to that. It was very, very similar, and he conceded the lead randomly and just dropped his level, went back onto serve, got taken to a tiebreaker, but still managed to win it 7-3 in the tiebreaker. So, yeah, Zverev's my number 2, and as I said, I think Rome, we have to put some emphasis on Rome, and I think that's rightfully so. My number 3 is someone who's made a bit of a resurgence, which is great to see after a disappointing 2023. In 2022, made 2 Grand Slam finals, and it is the current finalist from last year at Roland Garros, that is, Casper Ruud. Now, Casper's had an interesting season. Hasn't been amazing, but as soon as he hit the clay, he did start to show what he's about, and that's great. He's playing in Geneva this week as well. Let's see how he gets on. Hopefully, he doesn't burn himself out to any degree. Fingers crossed. He played Estoril. He made the semi-finals there, beat Van der Zandschulp, Fucsovics, lost to Pedro Martinez, who's been having a really, really good season. We actually got a chance to talk to him at the Challenger in Bordeaux. David was there, and he managed to get, some words into him. So do check that on the channel. There's a short, very short version of it, which is less than 60 seconds, but there's also a 3-minute version as well, where he's answering not just David's questions, but others, and he's having a really good year by his standards anyway, and yeah, interested to see what he can do at Roland Garros, but yeah, of course, he's not going to be one of the contenders, but yeah, ended up beating Ruud, making the final at Estoril, which is impressive. Monte Carlo beat Tabilo, which is now looking like a really good win, of course. Hakac has been playing well on clay, I have to say. Beat Humbert. Beat Djokovic, which is, of course, that really big win where no one really gave him a hope in hell. And great win. Lost to Tsitsipas very convincingly in straight sets in the final. Barcelona made the final and beat Tsitsipas, got revenge. And then also had wins over Muller, Thompson, Arnaldi, and Echeverry. So some decent wins. Echeverry made the standout there. And Madrid, round of 16, lost to Felix. Again, not going to take too much from Madrid. Beat Kekmanovic and Nori. And in Rome, not to be. I mean, lost in his first match. Bageled Kekmanovic in the first set and then lost 6-4, 6-4 in the second and third. Yeah, not ideal, but that's probably why he's playing Geneva, and rightfully so. And I do think I'm not super worried about him going into. I think he should be fine if he has a couple of decent wins. I think he will be fine. Number 4, I'm going to go for Andrey Rublev. I think Andrey Rublev has looked very, very good in spurts during this swing. It's good to see we had that really strange default happen. I think it was in, I want to say Dubai, but I could be wrong. And yeah, he just went off, or Doha, I think it was. But anyway, either way, he got defaulted, controversy around it. Then he just didn't really know what to do with himself. I think on court, was too worried about his behavior, and then when he did lash out, it was almost wild. He just wasn't able to control his emotions. He lost a string of matches consecutively, but then eventually managed to settle down on the clay, which is fantastic because that's what we want from Andrey Rublev. Lost in the first round of Monte Carlo, or second round that is, to Popyrin in straight sets. Barcelona lost to Nakashima in his first match, and then finally picked it up by winning Madrid. So great to see him win it then. Yes, okay, Madrid, as I said, it's not the best indicator, but it gave him some confidence and form, which is good. Being Bagnis, David Regina, Griekspoor, Alcaraz, Taylor Fritz, and Felix Auger-Aliassime. And then in Rome, beat Giron and lost to Muller. So you might be saying, well, Pazan is 4 a bit high. Maybe. When we talk about it, but it's slim pickings off the first 3. It really is, and we'll get into it. And yes, some people have made some runs, but no one's been super consistent this clay court swing, apart from your Tsitsipas's, maybe a Zverev, maybe a Rude, but no one's made the at least quarterfinal in every event they played on clay this year. And maybe that's me expecting too much, but Nadal, Djokovic, these guys, they normally do that. That's Andrey Rublev. Number 5, I've gone for someone who thankfully looks like he will be fit to play Roland Garros, and that's Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner has been... Yeah, look, I mean, it's not been an ideal clay court swing. Semi-finals of Monte Carlo, bit of controversy around the 3-set loss to Tsitsipas. He double faulted Tsitsipas, wasn't cool, blah, 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 blah. But look, he lost. But beat Korda, Struff, and Rune on the way there, so decent wins. Beat Sonego, Kotov, and Khachanov before Felix Auger-Aliassime got a walkover because Sinner pulled out in the quarterfinals, then hasn't played Rome. Massive disappointment for him, of course. And, he'd only lost one match, which was in Indian Wells, to Alcaraz before the clay court swing. So, look, he is the definition of, a hot informed player in 2024, right? And that's fair to say. Number 6, I've gone a little bit left field, you might say, with Clayla Fritz. And I'm not saying that, again, this is what I mean. I'm not saying this is my top 10 picks of who's going to win Roland Garros. I'm just talking about form. And it's a form guide, really. And look, I think he's in good form. I think that's fair to say. Italian Open or Rome, he made the quarterfinals, lost to the eventual champion in Zverev, beat Dimitrov, Korda, Fognini. They're all good clay quarters. Lost to Rublev in the semi-finals of Madrid, but beat Cerundolo, Hurkacz, Baez, Darderi on the way to that semi-final. So that's quarterfinal, semi-final, albeit semi-final in Madrid. Final in Germany, beating Morocanas, Draper, Garin. Lost in straights to Jan Struff. Really good win from Struff, that was. And Monte Carlo, he lost in the first round, so fine. Right, so look, pretty good going. And yeah, I'm not saying he's going to win Roland Garros, but what I am saying is he's definitely impressed me with his movement on clay. I think he's clearly more confident with his feet, with his legs, and also he's starting to understand a little bit more that you can't just blast past people from the baseline on clay. You have to be a bit smarter. You have to use your angles, your variation, your spins, and be a bit more creative when it comes to the points. And you can't just bash the ball on hard like you can on a hard court, because it's just not the same. And it's good to see him develop his game and have that bit of understanding on, okay, I need to play a little bit differently on clay. So yeah, great to see, and he's clearly enjoying it on the red dirt. So that's the most important thing. Number 7, I've gone for reigning Roland Garros champion Novak Djokovic. And look, in normal circumstances, he'd be a lot higher. I think everyone knows he'd normally be number 1. Let's just be real. I think that's fair to say, but it just hasn't really gone his way. Semi-finals of Monte Carlo was look, considering that he's only won it, twice, I think it is. That's not bad going. Beat Safiolin, Musetti, Dimoneur, good wins. Lost to Rude in 3. Fine. You're thinking, okay, well, that's better than he did last year. And he won Roland Garros, right? He lost to Musetti. I think it was in the round of 16 or quarterfinals last year of Monte Carlo, and went on to win Roland Garros. So no biggie. And he also didn't win Rome either. Just saying. Italian Open. Didn't play Madrid. Lost to Tabilo in his second match. Beat Mute and then lost to Tabilo in straight sets, 6-2, 6-3. And this was obviously after the bottle incident. I'm going to be honest with you about the bottle incident. Yes, it was a metal bottle. It was unfortunate. Probably hurt him. Maybe he was even a little bit concussed. Who knows? But if it was really that bad, he shouldn't have played. I'm sure he wouldn't have played if it was that bad. And I'm pretty sure his team and the medical team at the tournament would have told him not to play. Now, that makes his comments after a little bit strange, I have to say, but maybe he was just dumbfounded at his level, because his base level Djokovic is just so high generally. For him to then dip below that is very unlike him, even in a non-Grand Slam event. So maybe it was just a shock of playing that badly, in all honesty. But yeah, that wasn't great for his form guide, it has to be said. But look, he's at 7. He's the like you have to factor in that 15% we were talking about, which is previous Roland Garros results. He's a defending champion, and the semi-final at Monte Carlo was a decent showing, and it's a similar surface. So we'll go for Djokovic 7. Number 8 is Daniil Medvedev, and look, Medi's been not as good as he was last year on clay, where we had Klaverdev winning Rome. That was great to see, of course. Monte Carlo, round of 16, lost to Khachanov. Madrid, quarterfinals, beat Arnaldi, Korda, Bublik, lost to Lehechka, walkover. So, yeah, he obviously picked up a little bit of an injury to his leg there. Beat Draper, Medejevic, and lost to Tommy Paul 6-1, 6-4 in the round of 16 at Rome. So, yeah, not been the best. I have seen him employ some interesting tactics, starting to use a drop shot more. I think he's starting to look a bit more comfortable on clay, but he still does say that he hates it. So it's his least favorite surface. I don't ever see him winning Roland Garros, in all honesty. But form-wise, he's at number 8 mainly because there's just not many other good players. Many other players that have made consistent runs at tournaments, and that's why this, in honesty, 5 to 10 or even 6 to 10, anyone's game. If someone picks completely different 6 to 10 than me, I wouldn't be surprised. And at 9, I've gone for Hubert Hurkacz. Now, Hurkacz has surprised me a little bit. Won his first clay court title in Estoril, beating Pedro Martinez, my best mate, and David's best mate, and beat Choinsky, Lamas Ruiz, Garin on the way to the final. And yeah, beat Pedro Martinez, good win straight sets. And look, he's looked good. He's looked, in my opinion, it's just been the forehand. Forehand's so important on clay. You need to be able to take with the forehand, be confident hitting it, high top spin rate, really punch and penetrate through the court, be able to push your opponent back, find good angles. And he's been doing that. He's been looking really confident on the forehand. So that's a big plus. His serve is big enough. He's got a big kick serve as well, but his serve's generally good enough on clay. Like, he's got such a big serve, even on a slow clay court. He's a big dude. He's got a great kick serve. He can mix it up. It's still a real weapon. And he still comes forward as well and finishes off points. It's good variation, which is what you need on clay anyway. Drop shot's look pretty good. He's mixed it up nicely. I'm excited to see what he can do at Roland Garros. I'm not saying he's going to win it by any stretch, in all honesty, but I would like to see him at least make some sort of run. And he's definitely got some form going into it. Won Estoril, round of 16, lost to Rude in Monte Carlo. Of course, Rude went on to make the final there. Madrid, round of 16 again, beat Draper, beat Altmaier, and lost to Fritz. Italian Open or Rome, beat Nadal, beat Echeverry, beat Baez, lost to Tommy Paul. So look, beating some real clay quarters. Nadal, Echeverry, Baez, they're all clay quarters. I'm just being honest. Nadal, of course, is not just a clay quarter, but that's his primary surface. That's his primary preferred surface, and where he's had the most success. So the fact that Hurkacz is, clay is probably the least suitable surface for his game. The fact that he's managing to make it work is extremely impressive. Number 10, I've gone for Nicolas Jarry, and look, I'm a massive fan of Jarry. I've said it from the start. I'll continue to say it because I just am. I just am that big fan of Nicolas Jarry. I love his game, and I do think he's dangerous on all surfaces. And look, I can't wait to see what he can do at Roland Garros if he does hit the type of form that he did in Rome. His results have not been great before Rome, that is. Monte Carlo lost to Echeverry in straights. First match, lost to Trungelliti in straights. So back-to-back losses against Argentinians. One in Monte Carlo, one in Barcelona. Then Madrid lost to Caboli in 3. And then in Rome, beat Arnaldi, Napolitano, Muller, Tsitsipas, and Tommy Paul to lose in two tight sets, 6-4, 7-5 to Zverev. So yeah, look, I'm interested to see what he can do. I'm more picking him based on his most recent run at Rome. Didn't really show anything else, of course. Just outside, there's quite a few players. Holger Rune has been one that I've been a little bit disappointed about. In honesty, I was expecting him to be challenging. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Monte Carlo, quarterfinal, fine, decent. Semi-final in the Bavarian International, but it's a small tournament. Madrid, second round. Italian Open, second round. I mean, it's not really good enough from him in the big tournaments, and it's been a shame. And I'm hope that we see him back to his best when Roland Garros comes around. Alcaraz has been injured, of course. We know he's only played the one tournament in Madrid, which is a massive shame. Pulled out of Monte Carlo, pulled out of Rome, lost to Rublev in the quarterfinals. And it's impossible to put him in a form guide because he just hasn't played any tennis, really. You can't base it just on Madrid, given that it's so different in conditions as well. So, yeah, he's just outside. But look, if he's fit, he'll be one of the contenders, no doubt. Nadal. Barcelona Open, lost the second match at Dimona. Madrid, round of 16, lost to Lehechka. Rome lost to Hakac in his second match. So, yeah, look, Nadal, form-wise, he's not in the top 10. We just have to be real. He's not, in the most informed. Well, he's not in my top 10 most informed players on clay at the moment. He's just not. We have to be honest. And yes, I can cater in previous years and say, yeah, he's won X amount of Roland Garroses, and that's fine. I get it, 40 Roland Garroses, but I have to be honest and say that even as a Nadal fan, he's not in form though, in any form really. Tabilo, semi-finals of Rome, and won a challenger in France. Madrid, first round loss. Monte Carlo, second round loss. So, good run in Rome, and that's why we put him there. Good win over Djokovic as well. And then I've got Tommy Paul, who of course made a good run at Rome recently. And I've also put in Jannik Struff, who won a title at the Bavarian International, at the Bavarian International, who beat Fritz, Rune, Felix, Van Schulp. Madrid ran a 16, lost to Alcaraz, probably should have won that in honesty, 2 tiebreakers, beat Manar number before then. Monte Carlo lost to Sinner in the round of 16, and Rome lost to Tsitsipas in the round of 64. So, lost to some top players there. So, fair play. Guys, I'm extremely interested to hear your top 10 most informed players going into Roland Garros. Like, what does your form guide look like? Let me know in the comment section below. And any other questions and comments you have as well, just drop them below. The more the merrier. Also, do hit that like button, please. Do subscribe if you're new. Share the video as well if you don't mind, really helps us out. And if you're watching on a podcast platform or listening on a podcast platform, give us a rating or review. It really does help us out. Appreciate each and every one of you, especially our members. I'll see you for, more videos, but also for Roland Garros, which I cannot wait to start. So thank you very much, guys. Have a great rest of the day. See you soon.